If you enjoy this featured episode of Marvel Plus, please go over and favorite or follow the Marvel Plus podcast to get future episodes. WandaVision, Season 1, Episode 2. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Marvel Plus, the podcast devoted solely to the Disney Plus Marvel series. My name is Brett Scott. I am your host, and this is the show. And today's show is going to be a little different than the last one. Today, I have my good friend Justin Logan on the podcast to help me break down episode 2 of WandaVision. Now, Justin is my co-host on another podcast that I do called Ambassadors of Quan. It's a 90s movie podcast where we go back and review great and not so great films from our childhood. If that's something that you're interested in, be sure to go check it out. But today, my friends, we're talking WandaVision. I always love having Justin on because he likes to do deep dives on this stuff just in his free time. I mean, he's always telling me about interesting fan theories and giving me a new perspective. So I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. All right. Without further ado, Justin Logan, ladies and gentlemen. All right. We are here with Justin Logan to talk about WandaVision Episode 2. Before we get into that, Justin, what do you think like overall about this series so far? Is it what you expected, or I mean, I know I had you on to talk about the trailer and you were pretty damn excited when we talked about that. You're pretty pumped for it. So now that you've seen 2 episodes, what do you think overall?
Okay, so I'm really surprised at how strictly they're following the formula. So like episode 1 was 100% 50s. Episode 2 is 100% 60s, and there's just a few moments of total weirdness. So I'm hoping that it slowly unravels, but when it does, there's going to be a big payoff. Because honestly, the first episode was so boring. It was so boring, but I understand why. It's like they're setting the table.
Yeah. I've heard the same thing from other people talking about how, okay, we get it. It's like a sitcom, but do you really have to play out the entire sitcom, play out the entire story of a real sitcom all the way to its end? Is that necessary? And then, we'll get into it more in episode 2, but so far that's what they're doing. They're giving us full-on episodes of TV shows with a classic 1950s or 60s plot and story of the week, and then they actually play it out all the way to its conclusion, and that's the end. It's kind of crazy. I didn't quite expect that either, to get literally, if you took out the weirdness, you could just be watching a standalone sitcom.
Yeah. Vision was always the regular husband version of himself. He was some smart husband, and that's it.
Right. Or even if you were playing on like a Mork and Mindy type, maybe he is a robot, and that's the funny thing, like
small.
Yeah. And it's that's the whole trope. That's the whole funny thing is he's not of this world and he's different. He doesn't eat food, just all the weird shit that's different about a robot. I don't know. It would play as a sitcom. You could literally do that. But yeah, it's weird.
I love how I got drunk off of gum because it gummed up the works.
Yeah, gummed it up. All right, so let me see here. There was something else here's what I was thinking when I was watching this episode 2. We can go ahead and get into episode 2 now. So I was thinking about something while I was watching it, and I feel like we've basically full on become our parents at this point. When you were a kid, did you watch Nick at Night?
Yeah.
And do you remember the shows that were on Nick at Night? It was like these type of shows. It was like Donna Reed and like Dick Van Dyke and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like now, have you ever seen Nick at Night now?
No, I can't even
Oh,
imagine what's on Nick and I know.
yeah, well, Nick at Night now shows reruns of like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So
Wow.
it's yeah, it's literally it's like when we were kids and watching it, our parents probably like looked at it like, "Oh, this is shows from when I was a kid." You know, stuff was on TV. And now it's like we're literally there. We're there now. Now the shows from when we were kids is on Nick at Night. It makes me feel so old. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's terrible to think about.
Um, so something that I just here's my kind of overall thing with the series so far. Like, even though it's playing on all these classic TV shows and like classic, you know, storytelling tropes from back in the day, it's somehow still like one of the most unique things I've ever seen because you know that it's not that. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. And I don't know if you see this or not, but I think it's legitimately funny. Like, even though they're doing this like corny, dated style jokes, it's still genuinely funny to me. Like, I'm laughing while watching.
Yeah,
Are you finding that?
yeah, they've done a good job. It's I don't know. It's not the corniness is what's funny. Like, and the fact that
Hmm.
they're doing it on purpose. It's just and we've been in quarantine this whole time. Haven't had any other Marvel content. Like, it goes Endgame and then this. It's just such a weird, I don't
It
know,
is.
difference.
Yeah, it's a weird transition. It's weird. I kind of like it though because it's not like anything we've seen from Marvel at all. At least they're like, I feel like they're taking a chance with it for sure. Like, it's out there. It's wild to do this. But they nailed it. I mean, if they're kind of recreating these sitcoms from different eras so far with the 50s and 60s, it's dead on. Like I said, if it wasn't for knowing it was a Marvel show and throwing in the weirdness, I'm pretty sure it would be indistinguishable from a classic show.
Yeah,
It's pretty spot on.
yeah. I love the openings, and I love the commercials. And the commercials are so full of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, like Easter eggs,
Yeah,
little like the Stark Industries that toaster
yeah.
that they did, and
Well, I did a little bit of research. The toaster sort of is Vision. Vision is the toaster.
yeah, I think we watched or read the same thing.
Yeah,
But like, yeah, he has that little like red dot in the center,
yeah. And,
and it looks like a robot's head.
and you read like in the comics, she like lovingly refers to him as Toaster.
Yes,
It's
yep,
pretty funny.
yeah. I thought it was pretty cool. They see that's what a lot of people like. They always like to separate the comics from the MCU. Like, oh, it's its own world. You know, they do things differently. It's like, but I appreciate that they still put in even like Easter eggs for the comic book fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Even though I hadn't read that before, like I hadn't read that story where she refers to him as a toaster, but just knowing that somebody who made this series knew about that and put it into the script is fucking. I think it's awesome. It's like something for everybody.
and other things I was reading about Wanda in particular. So she's had like multiple different origin stories. It's been retold. She's had different parents and different everything.
Hmm.
If she can change reality, that's a good origin story. Is to be a little bit of everything and change.
Yeah, yeah, it works for her. Like, whereas it might not work for other characters that we have. Like, it works perfectly for Wanda. You can really fuck with her origins as much as you want and be like, oh, well, she created it. She made it that way, or that was a version that she lived. Um, so another thing, before we kind of like really dive into episode 2 here, there's this theory going around about the character Agnes. Did you see that?
Yeah,
So like the neighbor, the nosy, like annoying neighbor, like I guess she's that. Well, people are. are speculating that she is actually like a witch of sorts from the comics.
Yeah, yeah.
Who is actually part of this manipulation. Like, she's manipulating Wanda.
Well, she seems pretty intent on Wanda having a kid.
Yeah, yeah. That's like, okay. So that's pretty much episode 2. It's like it's all centered around that, around children. It's trying to like put it into her mind something about children, right? They do that talent show, and it's literally you don't know why or anything. It's just like for the children.
Yeah, and there's no children there, so it's like it's just
Exactly.
fundraising for the school, I guess, is the part that's for the children. But I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird cult way that they say it.
Mm-hmm. For the children, and then like and she makes references, like even in the first episode, she makes little references to something about kids or something like, and then at the very beginning of the second episode, she's talking about the future, like preparing for the future or something, and mentions, I don't know, needing kids or space for kids. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what it was, but she's making all these little hints and suggestions. And then, like I said, the talent show is supposed to be all for the children, and then all of a sudden at the end she's pregnant with twins. So
Yeah.
that's kind of crazy.
Well, in the comic, that witch like gives her the energy to like manifest the children. So it's like it seems like it's not exactly what's happening in this, but I can see how she has something to do with it. And another thing about her is like something that a lot of like comic book nerds picked out. So when they were at the party planning committee, whatever the hell that thing was, that meeting, the woman that was the leader, the blonde, she was like, yeah, you know, the devil's in the details. And then Agnes says, oh, that's not all he's in. Apparently that's a big deal.
What is that? What is it?
I guess in the comics, Agnes is with, I guess not gonna say it's her husband, but is Mephisto, like the MCU devil.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. You know what? That is funny because she keeps referencing her off-screen husband, and like, but you never see him, which is a classic thing from sitcoms. So it's kind of cool that they weave that in there, and the fact that he may actually be someone nefarious. That's pretty damn cool.
The freaking devil. Yeah, that's pretty nefarious.
Yeah, old Ralph the devil. That's crazy. Yeah, I hadn't heard that one. That's cool. I didn't even think about that. Like, that Ralph might be something, because I was just thinking like, oh, it's the classic, you never actually see the spouse, thing from the past. But no, there's might be a reason. I'm guessing at some point we might actually meet Ralph, which would be pretty cool. So we're kind of jumping ahead of ourselves a little bit because we're like jumping straight to her having twins and stuff. But like, there's some stuff I enjoyed like throughout this, like when she's at that little, whatever you call it, town meeting, fundraiser planning thing, Vision is at some other thing, which I'm not exactly sure what it is. He's at like a meeting with like the men,
sort of like a neighborhood watch type thing.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did say a neighborhood watch. But like, I like how they slipped in. The writing in this is so clever because it slips in jokes that apply to the MCU and also apply to the era that they're portraying in the shows. So like, he cracks a joke, like he says something about someone being a communist, right? And like everyone thinks it's so funny, and like, yeah, that was a legitimate thing back then. Like, you could accuse someone of being a communist. It was like a big deal, right? Either that or you thought it was ridiculous. Like, but at the same time, the like Wanda comes out of an era, from the Baltic states or whatever, where there was a lot of communism. Like, that was a big deal. And she's like, what's Sokovia? Is it like Russian? Are they like kind of Russian?
It's definitely
I don't know.
Eastern European flair. But makes sense why she watches all the sitcoms. So like, if we assume it's in her
Yes.
mind, and the town's actually called Westview, so it's like how she views the West. So I mean,
Yes.
I don't know, it makes sense.
Yeah, like maybe she grew up watching because a lot of other countries, they get all our old stuff like on repeat. Like I've heard of people being massive fans of a series that like here went off the air like decades ago, but modern day like people in whatever in China are massive fans of some show that was on in like the 1982. So that could definitely be a thing. Like she grew up watching all this classic stuff, even you know she didn't necessarily had to grow up watching it when it was current. She's just watching all this old Western TV. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Let's see. Also, we get our first glimpse or like introduction to Monica Rambeau, right? Isn't she at the?
Wait, is it Monica? Is that the daughter? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I think
Yeah.
so.
And like, because she's the one that we saw in the trailer that is like confused later.
Yeah. And we wouldn't even know that unless they confirmed it at a panel. So it's just you get to know that.
Right. So, but yeah, right off the bat, she seems confused about like what her name is for like a split second. Like she goes to introduce herself and she's like, and I don't even remember if she said, she didn't say Monica, did she?
Geraldine.
I think it was, yeah. So it was weird. She stumbled for a second before saying what her name was. So I'm
the thing is, she doesn't appear until after Wanda finds the helicopter that is in color in the bushes. So It's almost like she came on a helicopter and now she's there. She stumbles because maybe she just got
weird.
And she's just now acclimated. I don't know what's happening. So maybe that's.
I actually forgot all about the helicopter, but yeah, that was another weird thing. It seems like all the little things that pop up in this show that don't belong are like red, right? Like the helicopter, like the red stands out. Blood when the woman gets cut.
I mean, a lot of red connections. So it's like her power is red. Vision is red.
Yeah.
Hell, Mephisto's red. So maybe that'll be a thing.
Right. Her costume leader, at least in the comics, was red. The classic costume.
I hope the next episode, the 70s episode, is the one that's a Halloween episode because I can't wait to see classic costumes.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I don't know when they're gonna do that. Like, I was kind of surprised that they that it didn't go like it kind of went 50s, 60s, right? But it was still the black and white. It was still the classic style sitcom. But you could tell that it was evolving. Yeah. Like, you could tell right away because, for one, they had the Bewitched opening, which is a little later than kind of what they were showing before. And also, did you notice like right off the bat, like all the jokes were a little bit more risque, and like they literally moved the beds together. It was like showing the evolution of what's going on. Like, okay, now we're in an era where we're going to be a little more liberal here. We're going to put the beds together, and like we're going to say some things that are a little like it wouldn't have been fit for TV.
Like Dick Van Dyke to Bewitched. And so
And then you can see that it's going now into like Brady Bunch territory. Like we got the color at the end.
I hope she gets into something football. Just please do it.
That would be great. I think one thing that I'm noticing is that like I don't remember what I was going to say now. Slipping my mind. All right, it doesn't matter. I have something written down. I'll get to it. I've got some notes written down here, but like obviously the strangest thing that happened in this episode was like that whole beekeeper climbing out of the sewer. And I don't know if you've done any I know you've done some like deep diving type of research on like what other people might have said about this. So, did you see anything about that? Like, does that mean something?
On the back of his uniform, there's an icon, right? And that same icon appears on the toy helicopter. It's sort of like
Okay.
so it's
What
like
was the icon?
it's almost like an omega symbol with a sword in the middle, and it
Oh,
so
it's the sword symbol.
So it's like they're basically space shield.
Yeah,
it's basically how you describe it.
yeah. That's what I was going to bring up. That's so crazy. That's exactly what I was actually going to say. So yeah, the sword is the space version of Shield. It's like protecting the cosmos, not just the Earth
It'd make a
from
lot
outside
of sense
forces.
if Captain Marvel's friend's daughter grew up to join Sword. That's why I think she came on that.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So she might be a plant.
Or she was sent in to try to help find out what's happening and got sucked into the, I don't know, whatever's happening.
Yeah. See that I'm still super confused here, right? Like I think we're supposed to be, but it's like I'm somewhere between this is Sword doing this to her, like they have her in some sort of prepared simulation, or like she's unconscious and they're monitoring her from outside. Like that, I'm leaning towards that now. Like they have her at their facility or something, right? And she's unconscious and all this is going on in her mind, and they are somehow monitoring it. And that's why you keep getting people reaching out to her, like they're trying to get in contact with her from outside of her body. Like,
you're thinking
is that what you're?
It's all an internal thing. This is all just mental.
I don't know. I don't know.
Different. I think there's like a dome around an actual city, or not city, but like a little neighborhood, and she's actually forcing people to be actors in this. Like she.
You think this is the Truman Show? Oh man, yeah. I wasn't quite thinking that, just because of how much she keeps changing things. Like that's why. So,
did you think there's a vision, or do you think it's just she's thinking?
I don't know. I've seen some people seem to think that there's a way that she could have brought him back, and that he might actually be existing. But I feel like she's projecting him. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's what I thought going in, right? Like, obviously, I'm like, oh well, he died in Endgame. She's probably so heartbroken and distraught that she like created this illusion of him still being alive. But I don't know now. I'm like questioning everything now that I've actually seen the show.
Yeah, I just. Oh, and we did get a glimpse of that House of M wine from the.
Yeah.
Just anything that ever hints at mutants, I'm gonna be all over. Like, just please, just fucking give me one mutant by the end of this.
Yeah. Well, here's something interesting too. So Sword in the comic books stands for something different than it does in the MCU. So I don't know exactly what it stands for in the comic books.
I think it's like between
but
world
I do
and
know
weapon is like the difference.
Yeah. So you swap those out, and it's instead of sentient world observation response division, and now it's sentient weapon observation response division. So that's another thing where I'm kind of thinking like, okay, maybe Sword is doing this to her, and they're like, because they're monitoring her, right? Like that, and she's a weapon. So I don't know if they have her somewhere, like you said, maybe she's in a dome, she can't get out type thing. And then she's creating all this craziness in her mind, and now they're having trouble reaching her.
I think she could if she wanted to, but she doesn't want to. I think she has everyone else. She's imprisoning everyone else. They're coming to save everyone from the weapon, which is her.
Okay, but do you think that they put her in the dome? I think
the dome is something she manifested. Like yes,
around a real town.
I think she made a dome.
Man, I don't know. That's let's say it was crazy. I'd say it's crazy, but like the whole thing's crazy, right? Like the idea of Wanda is crazy. It's like it's one of the most out there characters there is, because she can manifest whatever she wants.
Having a character that's married to the devil, so this could go anywhere.
right. Yeah, yeah, and I just meant Wanda in general. Like you can literally do anything. So like, of course it's going to be confusing. Like if she can manifest anything she wants at any given time and make anything reality, like that's where couldn't they go? They could do whatever the hell they wanted, like writing this show,
So
creating stories with
one of the
Wanda.
theories that someone was writing about, which is hilarious. Like I'd love it to be this, but it's that she just changed. She switched dimensions, and now she's in the Mojo verse. I know it's
Mojo.
hilarious. I
Yeah.
wish.
that that would be ridiculous. And the Mojo verse was like it was
Yeah.
all about TV, right? It was like so that I mean that's an interesting theory, honestly. Like because it is kind of weird that otherwise there was no TV tie-ins at all to the MCU. Like that's what makes this so different. It's like I don't know, it's relying on this classic pop culture thing that we don't know why it relates to Wanda at all. So we're speculating, I guess, that she watched all these shows growing up in Russia or growing up in Sokovia, um, and that's why she views this as like what life should be like or whatever. But who knows? Maybe it is something completely ridiculous like mode. Like you can't put anything past it. That's what I'm saying. Literally anything is possible with this character.
Well, here's
So,
something that bothers me with this. So we're both, assuming, like I'm assuming at least that Vision isn't actually there, right? I think no matter what's
mhm,
happening, like
right.
there's no Vision. That's just something she's created. But the problem with that is
Hmm.
you see other people and they break character for a second and they want out and they're looking for answers
Yeah.
and they're lost, right? Vision does that as
Yeah.
well. So why would her manifestation of Vision also be wanting to
Right.
make sense of the nonsense?
It's true, but doesn't she also seem just as
Well,
confused a
but
lot
when
of
she
times? Like,
does, like she full on rewinded time to get out of something that didn't make sense. But
mhm.
I don't know, whereas
Yeah, that's
Vision
true.
seems to be seeking it out, like asking at his job, what exactly do we do here? Like, because he's a machine, he knows none of this makes
Yeah,
sense. So
yeah, yeah, which is ridiculous. I love that. I love that he was asking like, what is it? What do we make? Like, what do we? And they literally just like make the forms to fill
yeah,
out
about the
about
forms, I guess.
about. I love it. I thought it was great because that happens in the classic shows all the time. It's like the husband just goes to work. You don't know what he
Yeah,
does. You don't know,
Homer Simpson.
and it's kind of like right, and it's kind of like that's yeah, that's her version that she's seen. So it's like she didn't create the world with enough detail,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, to put in stuff that she didn't know about. Um yeah. So now what were you saying about the beekeeper? Because I mean you're
Yeah,
saying he had a sword
he had
emblem
the
on.
same.
So do you think that was some people actually making it into her illusion, like maybe about to make that contact that they've been trying to get through the radio and
Well,
stuff, like
if there was a dome, if
and
there
then
was a
she was
dome
like, Nope.
over a place, right? I would want to come in from
Hmm.
under the dome.
True.
I mean, I guess that probably
Okay.
only makes sense to me. I don't know if anyone else is thinking that there's like a fucking energy dome around a real city. I don't know, but
Well, we saw something that kind of
is
looked
that
like
where I'm
that in
getting
the
it? Because
trailer,
I
so I
don't
get
remember.
why you're going there.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like there's like choppers or some sort of military vehicles like trying to
Okay, maybe
get
that's all
through
it
like a
is.
dome. I think. I mean, hopefully I'm not just remembering that from Endgame, like like people trying to break through a dome. But I don't remember helicopters in Endgame trying to come through the dome. So
All right,
I,
so
I don't
give
think
me
that was a thing.
your if you had to put money on it right now, will we see
Hmm.
Doctor Strange in one of these episodes?
I think it's possible towards the end. Maybe even like, I wonder, that brings up something interesting. I wonder if there will be an end credit scene like on the final
Yeah.
episode. I'd
Did you
I'd
watch
almost put money on
100%
that.
of every credit? Because I for sure did.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I definitely did. I made sure to watch the very end. I'm not gonna lie, I fast forwarded to the end, but I watched the screen the whole time, um, expecting something. But I almost guarantee that they will at the end of the season. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. And that might be where we see Doctor Strange, because we do know just from random reports that Doctor Strange has something to do with Wanda, like going forward after this. The Multiverse of Madness somehow ties into this series. So I think it's very possible, highly likely, that we see Doctor Strange like at the very end, either in the final scenes of the final episode or in an end
Well,
credit
I'm
scene.
hearing that this ties into the Spider-Man movie, which ties into Doctor Strange. Like it's all three of them are dealing with the same thing. So
Mm,
Spider-Verse stuff is, just the
yes.
multiverse, which is the same thing that she's going to be going through.
What if this is all a red herring
I
and
no no
there is
no.
no
I
multiverse?
I'm getting
Like,
multiverse. No, I don't accept that. I was so mad when Mysterio was lying about the multiverse.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that it has to pay off now. I think they have to do it. Like, they did that on purpose, obviously. Like, fucked with us about the multiverse. Like, oh, there's a multiverse. And they're like, just kidding. And then, then to be having a movie called Multiverse of Madness coming out a couple years later. Clearly, they were just
Yeah, it felt
messing
like
with us a little bit.
that commercial from Interdimensional Cable, like you piece of shit. Just kidding.
Yeah. 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 Just kidding. Yeah. No, it was really disappointing. I remember like I got so pumped when we found out that uh, Mysterio was claiming to be from another dimension, another Earth. I'm like, "Oh, it's happening. It's happening." Nope, you got to wait 3 more years before it happens. But I I honestly didn't know if WandaVision would be like a way to make that happen. I didn't know. It seems like it must have some sort of tie into it. Um, I don't know if it'll be because of her powers or whatever, like that she has something to do with there being a multiverse or breaking the wall between multiverses or something. But um, I think that just based from what they've said, from what Marvel has said, from what it sounds like it's all connected, right? So it's this Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man 3. But like, what else? You know what I mean? Like, how did that? The MCU is all connected. That's the whole reason that we love it, right? Like, everything affects everything. So, what other shit does that affect? Is it going to be in a bunch of other? Because we got a bunch of movies coming out and a bunch of series coming out. Basically, every week for the next year straight, I believe there's some sort of new Marvel content, which is perfect. Like, for me, I'm so glad. Like, I feel like it sucked waiting a full year, to get something. Um, but it was
Yeah,
longer than
it's
a
been
year,
a
right? It
long
was like a
time.
year and a half. So it it sucks that we waited that long, but I'm kind of excited about the payoff, because the payoff is we get everything jam packed in together. Like, some people might not like that, but I don't mind at all having new Marvel content every single week. I
Yeah,
just hope I
I
can
just
keep
want to
up.
live in a world where Blade is going to be hunting down Jared Leto. Just do it. I don't care. Everything.
Oh,
Every
it's
company. I
coming.
don't care if
It's
Disney owns
coming,
the
man.
world. Just buy everything, connect everything.
Yeah, it's coming. Like, I think that, how much Disney can do now? Like, they could literally make a Wolverine versus Predator film if they want. Like they can do anything they want. They can be like, "Oh, you want RoboCop
Oh,
versus the X-Men? We can give you that." Because they own
God,
all the
how terrible would
properties.
that story be?
It's insane. No, it can't be any worse than that one that someone suggested for our other
Oh,
podcast we were doing. What was it? Like Terminate. What was it
Terminator
like?
of the Apes.
I don't remember, dude. It was something like that. Yeah, it was something ridiculous, dude. But yeah, I feel like Disney could actually do that now. They could be like, "Oh, you want X-Men with Planet of the Apes and Terminator and RoboCop all in the same movie?" It could literally look like Ready Player One.
Here are some pictures that match.
No, don't give me pictures that match. All right. Well, shit. I think we broke this thing down pretty well. Is there anything else about episode 2 that we forgot to mention? Like,
No, these sitcom people from the past are just really easy to trick.
yeah. No, I was gonna say I love that like that they when Vision got the gum stuck, he gummed up his gears. I love that they did the little like old timey diagram of his insides. Like I
Yes.
thought that was fucking awesome. Um, so what? All right, before we go, then let's speculate. What do you think? Like next episode, where's this going
I'm
next
hoping it's the
next week?
Halloween episode and we see the classic stuff.
So, because
Yeah,
that
yeah,
did kind of look 60s, right? When they showed it in the trailer, it looked like when they were doing that and we were getting classic Vision
yeah.
and Scarlet Witch,
Looked
it
like
looked like
classic costumes,
60s.
like the way you'd have a costume back then, and what I'd imagine, because it wasn't like 80s, 90s, because it wasn't thin
Hmm.
plastic that gets super wet.
Right. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like you can see it in other movies. Like you could tell when a movie's from if it was a Halloween movie right off the rip. Um, all right. So yeah, that's what I think. I think okay. So what about the kids though? Where do they go with that?
I don't know.
Like, what was the point? What was the point of manifesting
So
the kids? I wonder
in the
what's
comic,
going to come of that.
and on most of the comics, it's like they're twins, just like she was a twin. One's a speedster, and
Hmm.
one has magic. So it's like it's them again,
Okay, so it's basically,
but they're just little. One has
huh?
white hair, and one has brown hair.
Do they do they grow up to
So
be
they're
someone
both members
like that we would
of
know,
like Teen Avengers or
or do
some
we know?
crap, huh? Yeah,
Ah, okay,
I doubt it goes that far
makes
though.
sense. All right, yeah, I don't think so. I don't. Yeah, I'm loving the series so far. I like that. Like I said, some people are complaining that it's a little bit too much just being a damn classic TV show. Like, why are they playing it all the way out to the full conclusion of the episode? Like, we don't care. Um, but I kind of love it. I kind of love that they're doing that. I think it's great because it takes balls to do something ridiculous like this. Like, um, very easily people could, if they wanted to, it wouldn't be hard to lose interest in this. It'd be like, what is this? Okay, I'm good. But I don't know. I enjoy it. I enjoy that they're playing out the full episodes. I think it's kind of ballsy, but at the same time, I know that it's something else. So maybe that's it. Like I know that it's fucking madness behind the scenes. Like something crazy is about to happen, and I don't mind anticipating it for a while because they're dragging this out over 9 episodes, and I'm pretty sure I heard that not every episode is 30 minutes. Like the first two were around 30 minutes. But they're going to be different lengths. Some of them are going to be a
But
little
I'm just
longer.
hoping the weirdness is on a
And
spectrum. So the beginning would represent when she has full control. There's almost no breaks. The second episode, we've seen a couple breaks. So hopefully by the
yeah,
end, it's full out of control, and there's there's nothing normal.
Yeah, I wonder how long. So we've got a couple more decades to go through, right, of TV that we saw in the trailer. So I wonder how long they play this out. Like, is episode 3 going to be the 60s? Is episode 4 going to be the
I
70s? Are they
I,
going to go that far, or is it
I
going to
think we're
start
in the
breaking
70s for
apart
sure
so
next
much
week.
that they just,
Yeah, yeah.
you
That
think
living room
60s and
definitely looked
70s?
like it was from the set of that '70s show.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. It could escalate. It could speed up like the process. But I like the way they're pacing it because 9 episodes, what I've learned in watching so many of these series that are like 10 or 13 episodes or whatever is most series that are that long, like 10 plus, it's a little too much. Like there's always a lull somewhere in the middle, unless we're talking like Breaking Bad, right? There, most series have like this mid-season lull, like episode 5, 6, 7-ish, where you're like, all right, get back to the main storyline that I was enjoying. Like, and I feel like this slow burn
Yeah.
is going to pay off. I hope so. I really hope so because it's good, man. It's good, and the talent in it, from the writing to the acting, is like top notch. I'm really enjoying it. All right, let's wrap this baby up. Thanks for coming on,
Thanks for
man. I
having me.
appreciate it.
I'll see you on the. Whenever you ask me back, I'll come back.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm gonna ask you to come back later on in this season so we can talk about how crazy it got. So I'm gonna probably do a couple solo episodes, and I'm probably gonna do a couple with some random different perspectives, different guest hosts. But I want you to come back on probably at least for the final episode. We're gonna have to do that because of your question about Doctor Strange.
I think it's going to happen.
Definitely. Yeah, I do too. All right, man.
All right,
Thanks for coming
later.
on. I'll talk to you again soon. All right, ladies and gents, that is going to do it for this episode. I really hope you enjoyed the conversation. I know I did, and I can't wait to have Justin back on to discuss where this series ends up. Be sure to tune in next week where I will have another special guest host join me to discuss WandaVision Episode 3. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure and favorite or follow Marvel Plus so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you'd like to see the podcast grow and reach a larger audience, as always, the best thing you can do is share the episodes on social media. That is huge. And if you want to drop a 5-star review wherever it is you listen to podcasts, I'm sure that wouldn't hurt either. Look, I know there are a ton of Marvel podcasts out there, so I wholeheartedly appreciate you giving this one a go. Thank you. Thank you for listening. My name is Brett Scott, and this has been Marvel Plus.